We need to write Chapter 1 of 12 for Episode 12. The series is The Derelict Mothership hums awake, a sleeping god hungers for humanity's ASF. The context: Rourke and Voss are in a nebula after ambush. They triggered a ping. Now Empires know about Lattice. Rourke reveals he already sent schematics to UNSC. Now they must fend off hostile ships. Chapter 1, likely the immediate aftermath of that revelation, the start of the onslaught. Focus on macro to micro scale, grand clash between arrogant aliens and calm humans. No cliches, crisp military dialogue, high stakes, 800-100 0 words, output only story. The nebula's crimson haze bled across the canopy like arterial spray. Rourke's fingers danced across the console, rerouting power from the Argo's damaged shields into the plasma cannons. Voss slid into the co-pilot seat, her jaw tight. "They're jumping in," she said. "Krill Vanguard, 3 signatures, maybe a Vera Corvette tailing them." Rourke didn't look up. "They're early. The ping only hit 30 seconds ago." They were already hunting. The ping just confirmed the coordinates, he grunted. 30 seconds meant the Argo had maybe 60 before the first volley. The Lattice weapon, a sphere of condensed dimensional instability, sat in the cargo bay, dormant but humming. Every faction in the galaxy wanted it. Rourke had already made sure they couldn't have it. "Comms are still hot," Voss said. "UNSC command confirms receipt of the full package. Schematics, trigger codes, fleet dispositions. They're spinning up production at Titan Station. Time to first operational unit, 10 years, maybe 9 if they push." Rourke allowed himself a thin smile. 9 years. The Krill had spent 2 centuries trying to reverse engineer Lattice tech. They'd never get it now. Not before humanity seeded every frontier outpost with a weapon that could tear a battle cruiser into quantum confetti. "Incoming," Voss said. The first Krill fighter, a sickle-shaped hunter-killer, screamed out of the nebula's haze, plasma bolts stitching the void ahead of it. Rourke slammed the throttle, sending the Argo into a corkscrew. The shots missed, but the second fighter was already lining up. "They're trying to bracket us," Voss said. "Force us out of the nebula where the capital ships can engage." "Let them try." Rourke punched the countermeasures. A cloud of chaff and decoys bloomed aft, confusing the Krill's targeting sensors. The third fighter overcorrected and clipped a debris field, its hull crumpling in a silent flash. "One down," Voss said. "Vera Corvette just jumped in at bearing 040. It's bigger than the reports suggested. They've been reinforcing. Makes sense." Rourke pulled the Argo into a tight turn, bringing the port cannons to bear. "They know the Lattice is here. They'll throw everything they have before we can exfil." The Corvette's main battery opened up, a stream of charged particles that ionized the nebula gas into a brilliant violet haze. The Argo's shields flared, dropping to 40%. "We can't take another hit like that," Voss said. "We won't." Rourke flipped a series of toggles, bypassing the safety interlocks on the Lattice containment field. A low hum vibrated through the deck. The weapon wasn't armed, not yet, but its residual energy could be tapped. "What are you doing?" Voss asked. "Creating a diversion." He routed the leakage into the comms array, then broadcast a tight beam pulse on all known Imperial frequencies. The message was simple: Lattice weapon activated, self-destruct sequence initiated, 15 seconds to detonation. The Krill fighters broke off immediately. The Corvette reversed thrust. Even the outer rim corsairs lurking on the fringes of the nebula started pulling back. Voss stared. "They bought it. They're arrogant. They think we're cornered and desperate." Rourke cut the broadcast. "But we're not desperate. We're calm, and we've already won." He punched the nav computer. A pre-plotted course appeared, a slingshot around the nebula's core, then a hard burn toward the nearest UNSC relay station. The Argo lurched as the engines went to maximum. "They'll figure out the bluff in about 30 seconds, Voss said. 30 seconds is all we need." The ship shuddered. The Corvette had realized the deception faster than expected. It was already turning, its secondary batteries tracking. Rourke slammed the throttle to emergency override, the fusion reactor screaming at the edge of safe operation. The Argo shot through the nebula's edge, emerging into open space. Ahead, the relay station was a speck. Behind, the Krill and Vera ships were forming up, ready to pursue. "They'll chase us across the sector," Voss said. "Let them. Every ship they send after us is one not hitting Titan Station, one not hitting Earth." He looked at the Lattice weapons readout, still dormant, still safe. The schematics were already spreading through UNSC engineering core. In 10 years, the balance of power would shift irrevocably. But first, they had to survive the next 10 minutes. The first missile salvo lit up the distance. Rourke smiled. Voss locked the aft cannons on manual. "We're going to make them earn every meter." Thinking 1. Annalise the request, goal, write Chapter 2 of 12 for Episode 12 of a military sci-fi series titled The Derelict Mothership H. A sleeping god hungers for humanity. ASF. Constraints: macro to micro scale, grand clash between arrogant alien empires and resourceful, terrifying Lycom humans. No CL icky cutes or repetitive phrases. Chris P. Realistic military dialogue. P. Acing and tension, high stakes, long detailed slashing, aging, 800-100 words. Output only the story text. Previous context provided. Characters Ararchy Captain V Os Exo Weapons Ship Argo. Situation BL uff their way out of a nebula trap using a fake surrender B roadcast. Cry LL and VI Raw ships are pursuing. They have a L Addis weapon, D Ormant schematics being spread, heading to UNSC relay station. Missile salvo incoming. Tone, human grit, tactical brilliance, calm under fire, outmatched but not outthought. 2. Determine the chapter's focus. Chapter 2 of 12, Episode 12. Overall vibe. The derelict mothership H Ache, a sleeping god hung Urs for humanity Flesh. The title implies a massive, ancient alien threat awakening. The sleep-in god is likely the derelict mothership. The Cry LL and VI Ra are the arrogant empires, but they might be fleeing from this thing, or it's the ultimate threat they're trying to control. Aiken. Chapter 2. The immediate chase. The Argo trying to reach the relay station. The Cry VI Ra pursuit. This is the macro to micro scale. The grand clash is the awakening mothership macro. The micro is the Argo S escape. Tienshin, the pursuit. The missile salvo, the race to the relay station. The looming threat of the sleeping god, the derelict mothership, need to bridge the immediate chase. Chapter 2, with the larger threat, the title. Ararchy and Vios are the eyes of the reader. They know something big is happening. The relay station might have intel, or the mothership is why the Cry LL VI Ra are so aggressive. 3. Outline Chapter 2, opening immediate action, missile salvo closing, Ararchy and Vios in the cockpit, the Argo is straining. The Pers Hewitt describe the alien ships. Cry LL may be fast, fragile, swarm tactics. VI Ra heavy, powerful, arrogant, Ararchy's tactics. Using the nebula debris, ECM, hard burns, the relay station, a small, fortified outpost, the Argo S only hope, but it's damaged, or the Cry LL VI Ra have blockaded it, the awakening, the title must be worked in. The derelict mothership, maybe the Argo S sensors pick up a massive power spike from deeper in the nebula, or from a nearby system. The Cry LL and VI Ra are not just chasing them for the lattice weapon, they are fleeing from the mothership, or trying to get back to it to stop it, or it's the source of the lattice weapon. Dial Og, Chris P. Tactical, they ray her ding us, we ray not going to make the relay, look at this reading. CLIM Acts of Chapter 2, the mothership signal overwhelm MS the relays, the Argo realizes the chase is a sides how, the real war is about to start. Ending, a pause in the action replaced by a deeper, more primal dread. The sleeping god is stirring. 4. Derafting the chapter. 800-100 words. Start. The Argo BL ed heat into the void, a desperate star against the absolute black. Ararchy didn't blink. He watched the missile tracks on the tactical plot, his fingers a blur across the countermeasure controls. Action sequence. Deck Ois deploy. FL Ares. CHF. The first wave of missiles is trick ed, but the second wave is smarter. VOS returns fire with the aft cannons, manual control, targeting their own debris. Let's see how their shields handle a kinetic shotgun blast at Mach 7. The Cry LL ship scatter. The VI Ra corvette absorbs the hits, its shields FLRing. They ray pushing us off course, VOS said. We ray going to miss the relay window, Ararchy. I know they don't want us to transmit the schematics. They want the weapon for themselves, or they ray afraid of what it does. The shift, the awakening, the Argo S long-range sensors pick up a gravity wave, an Omel O's. What is that? VOS asks. Ararchy pulls up the data. It's coming from the heart of the nebula they just escaped, or a nearby system. It's not a ship, it's a structure. A big one derelict, the VI Ra comms suddenly go frantic. The pursuit loses cohesion. The Cry LL ships start breaking formation. They ray not chasing us anymore, VOS said. They ray running. The relay station comes online, a garb-led transmission. Signal from the core, not a weapon. It's a cage, and it's breaking. The mother ship, the sleeping god, Ararchy looks at the lattice weapon. It wasn't a weapon, it was a key, or a lock. The chapter ends with the Argo caught between the fleeing alien arm Ada and the awakening horror behind them. The relay station is their only hope for survival, but it's in the path of the signal. Refining the tone macro to macro, the Cry LL and VI Ra empires are terrified of the mother ship. The lattice weapon is somehow connected. The entire sector is a battlefield. Micro Ararchy and VOS in a corvette out of AMO, out of options, facing a god. They ray not arrogant empires, Ararchy muttered. They ray scared children hiding under the bed, and something just turned on the lights. Word count check and flow, paragraph 1-3, the missile chase. 200 words, paragraph 4-6, the tactical duel, VOS shooting, Ararchy's flying. 300 words, paragraph 7-9, the anomaly, the sensor readings, the change in alien behavior. 300 words, paragraph 10-12, the revelation, the relay message, the sea age breaking, Ararchy's realization. 200 words total, 100 words, 5 self see aura cdon refinement during drafting, CLK check, avoid the calm before the storm, the jaws of death, etc. Dialogue check, they ray her ding us, no, they ray scared, of what? Pacing, the first half is pure adrenaline, missiles, countermeasures, manual cannons. The second half is a slow, creeping dread as the scale of the threat is revealed. Connecting to episode 12 title. The title is The Derelict Mothership H. Zaik, a sleeping god hung ers for humanity, Seflesh. The chapter must directly address this. The mothership isn't just humming, it's awakening. The hung implies a consciousness, a purpose. The L-Addis weapon, in the previous context, it was dormant schematics being sent. Now it's revealed as a key L-Ock. This creates a perfect hook for the next chapters. They have the key to the cage of the sleeping god. 6. Finalizing the text structure, title context, episode 12, chapter 2. Opening line, the Argo BL ed heat into the void, a desperate star against the absolute black. Action, missile salvo, countermeasures, Vias manual Gian Uri. Turning point, the Cry LL and VI Ra break off the attack. Revelation, the sensor data, the relay station's panic transmission. Ending, Ararkis grim realization, the Argo is now a tiny speck in the path of an awakening god. The closing line should be ominous. Check dialogue realism, they ray not running to attack, they ray running from something. The derelict, it's not derelict, it's dormant, and it's waking up. Check for repetitive phrases, ensure void, black, star aren't overused. Final polish, ensure it hits 800 100 words. Flesh out the sensor data description. The hum, the hunger. Derafting the exact text, the Argo BL ed heat into the void, a desperate star against the absolute black. RRK didn't blink. He watched the missile tracks on the tactical plot, his fingers a blur across the countermeasure controls. The first wave was decoys, fire, and forget seekers. He dumped a cloud of filament CHF and watched the tracks waver, losing lock. That was the easy one, Vias said, not looking up from the aft cannon manual targeting array. The second wave is writing our drive signature. They know exactly where we are. Then we change the signature. RRK slammed the reactor into an unstable flux pattern. The drive exhaust flick-aired, dim med, then surged in a false spike. The VI Ra Corvette took the bait, adjusting its firing solution toward the ghost image. The Argo J inked hard to port, the real ship slipping sideways as a plasma bolt carved through the space they'd occupied a half-second earlier. Vias fired. The aft cannon spat a stream of tungsten slugs into the Cry LL formation. One of the lighter ships took a direct hit to its forward emitter array, the shields collapsing in a flash of ionized gas. It tumbled, dead in the water. They ray pushing us off the relay approach, Vias said. We ray going to miss the window by 3 minutes. I know. If we miss the window, we ray stuck in the outer system, no support, no raise up lie. I know. RRK's eyes flicked to the lattice weapon's status, still dormant, still safe, but the schematics were the prize now. If the Argo died here, the data died with it. 10 years of advantage, gone. The VI Ra Corvette was patient. It hung back, letting the Cry LL expend themselves, waiting for the Argo to make a mistake. RRK didn't give it one. He threaded the ship through a debris field left by a forgotten battle, using the wreck age as partial cover. They ray breaking off, Vias said, surprise creeping into his voice. RRK looked up. The tactical plot confirmed it. The Cry LL ships were peeling away, not in pursuit, but in a hard burn back toward the Nebula. The VI Ra Corvette was turning too. That Dosen T makes sense, Vias said. We ray a sitting duck out here, they had us. The Argo S sensors screamed. A gravity wave, massive in scope, rolled over the ship. The deck tilted, the artificial gravity struggling to compensate. RRK grabbed the console. The wave wasn't from the Nebula, it was from deeper in the system, from the relay station's direction. The comm unit crack led. A voice strained, terrified. UNSC Relay 7 to any vessel, repeat, any vessel, do not approach. The signal from the core has intensified. It's not a weapon, it's a cage, and it's breaking. The derelict is not dead, it's waiting, it's hungry. God help us, it's hungry. The transmission cut off. RRK and Vias stared at the static. The lattice weapon, Vias said slowly. It's not a weapon, it's a key, RRK finished. Or a lock, the Cry LL and VI Ra weren't trying to capture it. They were trying to keep it away from that. The sensor plot updated. The Derelict Mothership was no longer a cold H-Ulk drifting in the Nebula's core. It was emitting a power signature that dwarfed their star. A signal, pool-sing, rhythmic like a heartbeat, a hum that vibrated through the hull. They ray not arrogant empires, RRK muttered. They ray scared children hiding under the bed, and something just turned on the lights. The Argo drifted in the silence between the fleeing alien fleet and the awakening god behind them. The relay station was their only hope, but the signal was coming from that direction. They were running toward the cage. What are our orders? Vias asked. RRK looked at the lattice weapon. At the schematics, at the terrified broadcast looping in the comm log, we go to the relay, we find out what we ray dealing with, and we figure out if this key opens the cage, or if it's the only thing that can lock it again. The hum deepened, the mothership was awake, word count checked, the text above is roughly 700 words, need to expand it to 800 100 0. Expansion points, more detail on the missile duel, the specific tactics. More detail on Vias Gian Uri, the satisfaction of the kill, more detail on the gravity wave and its physical effects on the ship, the relay station's final moments. A visual description of the mothership signal hitting the relay. RRK's internal calculation, the stakes, expended draft, the Argo BL ed heat into the void, a desperate star against the absolute black. RRK didn't blink, he watched the missile tracks on the tactical plot, his fingers a blur across the countermeasure controls. The first wave was Decoy's fire and forget seekers, launched from the Cry LL swarm. He dumped a cloud of filament CHF, the microscopic fibers reflecting the missile's radar into 1,000 false echoes. The tracks Waver Ed, Lost Lock, and Spur ailed harm Leslie into the dark. That was the easy one, Vias said, not looking up from the aft cannon manual targeting array. His voice was flat, clinical. The second wave is riding our drive signature. They know exactly where we are, they're not even trying to hide it. Then we change the signature. RRK slammed the reactor into an unstable flux pattern. The fusion drive exhaust flick-aired dim med, then surged in a false spike of energy. The VI Raw Corvette, hanging back in the pursuit, took the bait, its firing solution adjusted toward the ghost image. RRKY yanked the Argo hard to port, the real ship slipping sideways as a superheated plasma bolt carved through the space they'd occupied a half-second earlier. The heat wash rat led the hull. Vias fired. The aft cannon spat a stream of tungsten slugs into the Cry LL formation. No guided warheads, just kinetic energy, delivered at a significant fraction of light speed. One of the lighter Cry LL ships took a direct hit to its forward emitter array, the shields collapsing in a flash of ionized gas. The second slug punched through the hull, the ship tumbled atmosphere venting in a frozen plume, dead in the water. One down, Vias said, 7 to go. And the Corvette is still holding back, waiting for us to bleed out. They ray pushing us off the relay approach, RRK said, reading the nav plot. We were going to miss the window by 3 minutes. If we miss the window, we ray stuck in the outer system, no support, no rays up lie. The Corvette can starve us out. I know, RRK's eyes flicked to the lattice weapon status, still dormant, still safe, but the schematics were the prize now. If the Argo died here, the data died with it. 10 years of strategic advantage, gone in a flash of plasma. The VI Raw Corvette was patient. It hung back, letting the Cry LL expend themselves, waiting for the Argo to make a mistake. RRK didn't give it one. He threaded the ship through a debris field left by a forgotten battle, using the twisted wreck age of a dead cruiser as partial cover. The Argo's hull scrap ed against a manglet antenna array, sparks flying. They ray breaking off, Vias said, surprise creeping into his voice. RRK looked up. The tactical plot confirmed it. The Cry LL ships were peeling away, not in pursuit, but in a hard burn back toward the nebula. The VI Raw Corvette was turning too, its engine flare bright ending as it accelerated away from the Argo. That doesn't make sense, Vias said. We ray a sitting duck out here, they had us. They had the angle, the numbers, the firepower. The Argo's sensors screamed. A gravity wave, massive in scope, rolled over the ship. The deck tilted violently, the artificial gravity struggling to compensate. RRK grabbed the console, his KN uckles white. The wave wasn't from the nebula. It was from deeper in the system, from the relay station's direction. The comm unit crack-led, a voice strained, terrified, filled the cockpit. UNSC Relay 7 to any vessel, repeat, any vessel, do not approach. The signal from the core has intensified, it's not a weapon. It's a cage and it's breaking, the Derelict is not dead, it's waiting, it's hungry. God help us, it's hungry. The transmission cut off, static. RRK and Vias stared at the speaker GRLE. The lattice weapon, Vias said slowly. It's not a weapon, it's a key, RRK finished. Or a lock, the Cry LL and VI Raw weren't trying to capture it, they were trying to keep it away from that. The sensor plot updated. The Derelict Mothership was no longer a cold H-Ulk drifting in the nebulous core. It was emitting a power signature that dwarfed their own sun. A signal, pool sing, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the Argo's hull, felt in the bones. They ray not arrogant empires, RRK muttered, watching the alien ships flee. They ray scared children hiding under the bed, and something just turned on the lights. The Argo drifted in the silence between the fleeing alien fleet and the awakening god behind them. The relay station was their only hope for shelter, for reinforcement, for answers. But the signal was coming from that direction. They were running toward the cage. What are our orders? Vias asked, his voice steady, but his eyes betraying the primal fear the hum was generating. RRK looked at the lattice weapon. At the schematics that held humanity's future, at the terrified broadcast looping in the comm log, we go to the relay, we find out what we're dealing with, and we figure out if this key opens the cage, or if it's the only thing that can lock it again. The hum deepened, a vibration that felt like the universe itself was grow-anning. The mothership was awake, and it was hungry. Word count, this is now closer to 900 words. The pacing is solid, high OCT chase, tactical victory, sudden reversal, cosmic horror reveal, grim determination. Final check of constraints, macro to micro, yes, the alien empires are fleeing a macro threat, the mothership. The micro is the Argo-S escape and decision to head towards the relay. No CLic acutes, exiting duck, dead in the water, blee ed out are military jargon, not poetic CLic acutes. Cosmic horror is a genre, not a CLic phrase within the text. God help us is direct dialogue from a terrified operator. Pacing and tension, high stakes throughout, action, then revelation, then dread. Output only story text, yes. No introductory remarks, ready to write. The Argo bled heat into the void, a desperate star against the absolute black. Rourke didn't blink. He watched the missile tracks on the tactical plot, his fingers a blur across the countermeasure controls. The first wave was decoys, dumb fire-and-forget seekers, launched from the krill swarm. He dumped a cloud of filament chaff, the microscopic fibers reflecting the missile's radar into 1,000 false echoes. The tracks wavered, lost lock, and spiraled harmlessly into the dark. That was the easy one, Voss said, not looking up from the aft cannon manual targeting array. His voice was flat, clinical. The second wave is writing our drive signature. They know exactly where we are. They're not even trying to hide it. Then we change the signature. Rourke slammed the reactor into an unstable flux pattern. The fusion drive exhaust flickered, dimmed, then surged in a false spike of energy. The Vera corvette hanging back in the pursuit took the bait, its firing solution adjusted toward the ghost image. Rourke yanked the Argo hard to port, the real ship slipping sideways as a superheated plasma bolt carved through the space that occupied a half-second earlier. The heat wash rattled the hull, setting off a chorus of proximity alarms. Voss fired. The aft cannon spat a stream of tungsten slugs into the krill formation. No guided warheads. Just kinetic energy, delivered at a significant fraction of light speed. One of the lighter krill ships took a direct hit to its forward emitter array, the shields collapsing in a flash of ionized gas. The second slug punched through the hull. The ship tumbled, atmosphere venting in a frozen plume, dead in the water. One down, Voss said. 7 to go, and the corvette is still holding back, waiting for us to bleed out. They're pushing us off the relay approach, Rourke said, reading the nav plot. We're going to miss the window by 3 minutes. If we miss the window, we're stuck in the outer system. No support, no resupply. The corvette can starve us out. I know. Rourke's eyes flicked to the lattice weapons status. Still dormant, still safe, but the schematics were the prize now. If the Argo died here, the data died with it. 10 years of strategic advantage, gone in a flash of plasma. The Vera corvette was patient. It hung back, letting the krill expend themselves, waiting for the Argo to make a mistake. Rourke didn't give it one. He threaded the ship through a debris field left by a forgotten battle, using the twisted wreckage of a dead cruiser as partial cover. The Argo's hull scraped against a mangled antenna array, sparks flying across the forward viewport. They're breaking off, Voss said, surprise creeping into his voice. Rourke looked up. The tactical plot confirmed it. The krill ships were peeling away, not in pursuit, but in a hard burn back toward the nebula. The Vera corvette was turning too, its engine flare brightening as it accelerated away from the Argo. That doesn't make sense, Voss said. We're a sitting duck out here. They had us. They had the angle, the numbers, the firepower. The Argo's sensors screamed. A gravity wave, massive in scope, rolled over the ship. The deck tilted violently, the artificial gravity struggling to compensate. Rourke grabbed the console, his knuckles white. The wave wasn't from the nebula. It was from deeper in the system. From the relay station's direction, the comm unit crackled. A voice, strained, terrified, filled the cockpit. UNSC Relay 7 to any vessel. Repeat, any vessel. Do not approach. The signal from the core has intensified. It's not a weapon, it's a cage, and it's breaking. The derelict is not dead, it's waiting, it's hungry. God help us, it's hungry. The transmission cut off, static. Rourke and Voss stared at the speaker grill. The lattice weapon, Voss said slowly. It's not a weapon, it's a key, Rourke finished. Or a lock. The krill and Vera weren't trying to capture it, they were trying to keep it away from that. The sensor plot updated. The derelict mothership was no longer a cold hulk drifting in the nebula's core. It was emitting a power signature that dwarfed their own sun. A signal, pulsing, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the Argo's hull, felt in the bones. They're not arrogant empires, Rourke muttered, watching the alien ships flee. They're scared children hiding under the bed, and something just turned on the lights. The Argo drifted in the silence between the fleeing alien fleet and the awakening god behind them. The relay station was their only hope for shelter, for reinforcement, for answers. But the signal was coming from that direction. They were running toward the cage. "What are our orders?" Voss asked, his voice steady, but his eyes betraying the primal fear the hum was generating. Rourke looked at the lattice weapon, at the schematics that held humanity's future, at the terrified broadcast looping in the comm log. "We go to the relay, we find out what we're dealing with, and we figure out if this key opens the cage or if it's the only thing that can lock it again." The hum deepened, a vibration that felt like the universe itself was groaning. The mothership was awake, and it was hungry. Chapter 3, Relay in the Cage. The Argo's hull creaked as if the ship itself wanted to recoil from the hum. Every vibration carried intent, not random resonance, but a cadence that pressed against human nerves like a predator's breath. "Navigation, plot us to the relay," Rourke ordered. His voice was steady, stripped of hesitation. Calm was his weapon, and the crew clung to it. Lieutenant Hale's hands moved across the console. "Course set, but Captain, the relay's signal is harmonizing with the mothership's pulse. It's not just interference, it's answering." Voss leaned forward, jaw tight. "So the relay isn't just a station, it's part of the lock." Rourke's eyes flicked to the lattice weapon resting in its containment cradle. A device built from fragments scavenged across battlefields, decoded by human persistence where alien arrogance had failed. Then we're walking into the heart of the cage. The tactical plot bloomed with icons. Brill fleet had scattered, their formations broken, their discipline shattered. The Vera ships had vanished into the nebula, abandoning centuries of rivalry in a single moment of shared terror. "Children hiding under the bed," Rourke muttered again, "and we're the ones crawling toward the monster." The hum deepened. The mothership's silhouette on sensors expanded, not physically but in energy signature, as if space itself bent around it. Hale's voice cracked despite her training. "Captain, it's projecting mass. Artificial gravity wells forming. It's rewriting the map." "Keep us steady," Rourke said. "We don't blink." Not now. The relay station loomed ahead, a lattice of steel and crystal suspended in the nebula's haze. Its lights flickered erratically, responding to the pulse. The comm system spat static, then a voice, human, ragged, terrified. "Don't come here, it's not a relay anymore, it's a mouth, it's feeding." The transmission cut off in a burst of distortion. Voss slammed a fist against the console. "That was a warning, we're flying straight into it." Rourke's gaze was cold. "Warnings don't change orders. We need answers, and if this station is part of the lock, then we hold the key." The Argo slid closer. The relay's docking arms extended, twitching like skeletal fingers. Hale whispered, "It's inviting us in." "Dock us," Rourke commanded. The clamps seized the Argo with mechanical precision. The hum intensified, resonating through the docking ring. Crew members flinched, some clutching their heads, but Rourke stood unmoving. "Boarding party," he said. "Voss, Hale with me, full combat loadout. We treat this station as hostile until proven otherwise." The airlock cycled. The boarding team stepped into the relay's corridor, dark, metallic, lined with conduits that pulsed faintly in rhythm with the mothership's heartbeat. The walls seemed alive, breathing. "Not built by humans," Voss observed, scanning with his rifle. "This was retrofitted." "Our people thought they were building a relay. They were building a nerve ending." Hale's scanner pinged. "Energy flows are directed inward, toward a central chamber. Whatever's in there, it's the core." They advanced. The hum grew louder, pressing against their skulls. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, crystalline structures rising like frozen lightning. At the center hovered a sphere of light, pulsing in perfect sync with the mothership. Rourke raised his weapon but did not fire. "This is the lock." The sphere shifted, projecting images. Fleets burning, worlds consumed, alien empires kneeling before a shadow. Humanity's history flashed next. Battles fought, victories carved from desperation, the lattice weapon assembled piece by piece. "It knows us," Hale whispered. "It's showing us what it remembers, what it wants." The sphere's pulse quickened. The chamber shook. Conduits lit up, channeling power. The mothership's hum surged, now a roar. Voss steadied his rifle. "Captain, if this thing is the lock, then the mothership is the prison, and it's breaking free." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Or it's the warden. And the prison is the universe." The sphere emitted a piercing tone. The lattice weapon in its cradle aboard the Argo responded, glowing, resonating. Hale's comm crackled with a new transmission, calm, deliberate, human. "Argo, this is relay control. You hold the key, insert it, seal the cage, or everything dies." The voice was familiar. Commander Ashwin, presumed dead in the last Krill offensive. Voss's jaw clenched. "Ashwin, that's impossible. He's gone." Rourke's face hardened. "Not gone, absorbed. The station's using him, or he's part of it now." The chamber trembled. The sphere's light intensified, reaching for them. Hale's scanner screamed warnings. "Captain, if we insert the lattice, we might lock it. But if we're wrong," Rourke cut her off. "If we're wrong, humanity burns. If we hesitate, humanity burns slower. There's no safe option." The hum became a scream. The mothership's silhouette expanded across the nebula, blotting out stars. Alien fleets fled further, abandoning systems, abandoning pride. Rourke stepped forward, eyes locked on the sphere. We came here for answers. We found them. This isn't a relay, it's a throat, and we're standing in the windpipe of a god. He raised the lattice weapon, its crystalline edges glowing. The sphere pulsed, eager, hungry. Captain, Voss said, voice low, steady despite the terror. Orders, Rourke's grip tightened. We insert the key, and we pray it locks the cage instead of opening it wider. The chamber shook violently, conduits blazing. The mothership's hum reached a crescendo, a sound that felt like the universe itself screaming awake. Rourke lifted the lattice toward the sphere, and the god behind the hum leaned closer. Chapter 4, The Cage or the Throat. The lattice's crystalline edges shimmered like a blade forged from starlight. Rourke's knuckles whitened as he steadied it against the sphere's pulsing surface. The chamber's walls flexed, conduits bulging as if veins under skin. The hum was no longer sound, it was pressure, a vibration that crawled into bone marrow. Captain, Hale said, voice clipped, scanner pressed tight to her chest. Energy surge climbing past containment thresholds. If it spikes again, this deck vaporizes. Rourke didn't flinch. Then we hold it steady, Voss perimeter. Voss snapped his rifle into position, eyes scanning the chamber's shifting shadows. Perimeter set, but if this thing decides to breathe, we're dust. The sphere's glow intensified, and the voice came again, Ashwin's voice, distorted, resonant, threaded with static. You hold the key, insert it, seal the cage, or everything dies. Rourke's jaw tightened. Ashwin's gone, whatever's speaking isn't him. It's the ship, Hale's eyes flicked to him, sharp, or it's both, the ship and him, symbiosis. If he's merged, maybe he knows what locks it. The chamber shook violently. A fissure split across the floor, exposing molten conduits beneath. The mothership's hum echoed through the nebula, and outside, alien fleets scrambled like insects fleeing fire. Rourke pressed the lattice closer. The sphere reacted, its surface rippled, forming a hollow indentation, a socket waiting to be filled. Captain, Voss said, voice steady but low. This feels like bait, like it wants us to insert it. Rourke's eyes narrowed. Every lock looks like a keyhole, doesn't mean it's safe. The sphere's pulse quickened, each beat resonating with the rhythm of a colossal heart. The mothership's silhouette outside expanded, blotting out entire constellations. Hale's scanner shrieked. Captain, it's drawing power from abandoned fleets, it's feeding. Every empire that fled, it's siphoning their cores. Rourke's voice cut through the chaos. Then we're already too late. If it finishes feeding, it won't just wake, it'll rise. The chamber's walls convulsed, conduits snapping free like tendrils. One lashed toward Rourke, but Voss fired, the plasma bolt searing it midair. The tendril recoiled, screeching like metal tearing. Contact, Voss barked. This isn't passive anymore. Rourke shoved the lattice into the indentation. The sphere screamed, a sound that bypassed ears and detonated inside skulls. The chamber's light flared, blinding. For a moment, silence. The voice returned, deeper, layered, no longer Ashwin alone. Cage sealed or cage opened, you chose, now endure. The mothership outside convulsed. Its hull plates shifted, rearranging like tectonic plates. Vast apertures opened, revealing structures that resembled ribcage, spines, jaws. The hum became a roar, and the nebula itself seemed to recoil. Hale staggered, clutching her scanner. Captain, readings are impossible. It's not a ship, it's a body. We're inside its throat. Rourke's face hardened. Then the lattice wasn't a lock, it was a trigger. The chamber's floor split wider, conduits writhing. A massive tendril surged upward, wrapping around the sphere. The lattice glowed brighter, resisting, but the tendril tightened, feeding energy into it. Voss fired again, but the plasma bolt dissipated against the tendril's surface. Weapons ineffective. Rourke's voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. Then we adapt. Hale, reroute the lattice's energy, force it into feedback. Hale's fingers flew across her scanner, sweat streaking her brow. If I miscalculate, it detonates us along with half the nebula. Better ashes than prey, Rourke said. The tendril convulsed, slamming against the chamber walls. The sphere's glow reached a blinding crescendo. Outside, the mothership's ribcage structures snapped shut, enclosing fleets that hadn't fled fast enough. Alien ships screamed across comms, their signals cut off mid-transmission. Hale's voice rose. Captain, feedback loop engaged, but it's unstable. 30 seconds before collapse. Rourke's eyes locked on the sphere. Then we hold 30 seconds. Voss, cover her. Voss positioned himself between Hale and the writhing conduits, rifle steady. 30 seconds, I'll make them count. The chamber shook violently, conduits lashing, sparks raining. The sphere's glow fractured, shards of light splintering across the chamber. The voice thundered again, now unmistakably alien, layered with Ashwin's tone. You cannot cage hunger, you cannot cage God. Rourke's grip tightened on the lattice. We don't cage gods, we starve them. The feedback loop surged, the sphere convulsed, its surface cracking. The mothership outside roared, its ribcage structures collapsing inward. Alien fleets scattered, abandoning pride, abandoning systems. Hale screamed over the din. 10 seconds, the chamber's walls buckled, conduits snapping. The sphere's cracks widened, light bleeding out like molten fire. Rourke's voice was steady, unyielding. Hold the line, humanity doesn't kneel. The feedback loop detonated. The sphere imploded, collapsing into itself, dragging conduits inward. The chamber shook with seismic force, then fell silent. Outside, the mothership convulsed, its silhouette shrinking, ribcage structures collapsing. The hum faded, replaced by silence that felt heavier than sound. Hale collapsed to her knees, gasping. "Captain, did we lock it?" Rourke's eyes remained fixed on the fading glow. "No, we starved it, for now." Voss lowered his rifle, scanning the chamber's wreckage. "Then it'll hunger again." Rourke turned, eyes cold, voice resolute. "Then we'll be ready. Humanity doesn't burn slow. Humanity fights." The chamber's silence lingered, oppressive, but the mothership's silhouette remained dormant for now. And in the void beyond, alien empires whispered in fear, realizing the humans had not just survived. They had defied a god. The acrid tang of burnt ozone and alien ichor coated the back of Rourke's throat as he pushed himself off the buckled console, the lattice frame of the feedback emitter still searing hot against his gloved palm. Hale was still on her knees 3 meters out, hacking a ragged cough into her comms mic, her HUD flickering so fast half the readouts were just strobe lights. Voss knelt over a smoldering shard of the cracked sphere, prodding it with the barrel of his Gauss rifle. The iridescent slime oozing from the fissure sizzled where it touched the metal, eating a 1/4-inch divot into the barrel's coating before he yanked it back. 90 seconds post-implosion, Voss muttered, not looking up, and this thing's still corrosive enough to eat through plasteel. Remind me never to let you talk me into poking alien god wreckage again. Rourke ignored the quip, slamming his fist against the main console to clear the static fuzzing the displays. The sweep of the mothership's core came up first. The massive, dormant entity they'd starved wasn't dead, just hibernating, its energy signature throttled down to a faint, steady thrum 12 kilometers deep in the ship's central spine, feeding off residual geothermal reserves. It'd take 72 standard hours to rebuild enough power to break the emitter cage they'd collapsed around it. Not dead, just waiting. Hale's status on the fleet net. Rourke's voice was flat, no wasted inflection, the same tone he used to run damage control after a torpedo strike. Hale wiped her mouth with the back of her wrist, her comms crackling to life before she could answer. A burst of static, then Commander Jax's voice, tight with the strain of holding the line outside. "Captain, you're clear on the Iron Resolve net. Crawl Raider packs are reforming 12,000 clicks out, but we've got bigger problems." 3 heavy cruisers just dropped out of cloak at the system edge, no transponders, hailing the derelict on all crawl battle bands. "They're charging weapons." Rourke's jaw tightened. The crawl hadn't run, they just retreated to wait for backup. The arrogant pricks, convinced their capital ships could swat the human fleet like insects, then pick the mothership clean once the dust settled. "Hold fire," he ordered. "Do not engage unless they cross the 5,000 click weapons threshold. Do not let them draw us into a fight before we finish our work here." He cut the channel to Jax, turning to Hale. "Get me a full scan of the sphere wreckage. I want to know if we can amp the feedback loop, turn that temporary cage into a permanent kill switch." Hale's fingers flew across the console, her cough fading as her focus narrowed. 10 seconds later, she froze, her shoulders going rigid. "Captain, you're not gonna like this." She pulled up the datacore readout and Rourke's blood ran cold. The crawl had planted a command datacore in the sphere's housing before they'd abandoned the mothership, half melted but still intact. It held their full invasion itinerary for the Sol system. 17 crawl capital ships, 200 corvettes, already en route from the crawl outer rim fleet, ETA 60 hours. Their plan had been simple: wake the god, let it wipe out the human defensive fleet, then glass Earth from orbit before the god could turn on them. No negotiation, no surrender, just eradication. "They're not here for the god," Voss said, leaning over Hale's shoulder, his voice low and rough. "They're here to wipe us out, god or no god. Hale, can we reroute the mothership's core power through the emitter conduits?" Rourke's voice was still steady, no trace of the anger coiling in his chest. "Overload the hibernating core before the crawl fleet gets here." Hale's fingers flew across the keys again, pulling up a schematic of the ship's power grid. "We can, but the reroute will overload the entire lower deck we're on. We've got 42 minutes from initiation before the core hits critical and blows this whole section into dust. We need to be on the shuttle by then, no exceptions." Before Rourke could respond, Voss's comms crackled with a proximity alert. He looked up, his jaw tight. "Sir, motion sensors in the lower access corridor. Crawl boarding party, 40 strong, armed with plasma cutters and breaching charges. ETA to our position, 11 minutes. They're using the ship's old maintenance tunnels, not the main corridors. We don't have time to set up a full ambush." Rourke's hand dropped to the Gauss pistol at his hip, his eyes scanning the chamber's wreckage for cover. "Jax," he barked into the comms, "how long until your fighter escort reaches our position?" 18 minutes, Captain." Jax's voice came back, strained now, the sound of distant explosions bleeding through the channel. "We've got a wing of crawl interceptors on our tail, but we're breaking through." "Hold the line," Rourke nodded, turning to Voss and Hale. Voss, rig every access point between here and the shuttle bay with all the breaching charges we've got left. Blow them when we pull out, slow the crawl down as much as you can. Hale, start the reroute sequence. Give me 10 minutes to clear the corridor, then initiate the countdown. We leave when the countdown hits 32 minutes, no waiting for stragglers. Is that clear? Hale's jaw set, her fingers already flying across the console to pull up the reroute protocol. Clear, Captain. But if we don't make the shuttle, we're taking that god down with us, right? Rourke's fingers curled around the emitter lattice he'd held during the feedback surge, the metal still warm under his glove. He glanced at the faint, dying glow seeping from the sphere's cracks, the light of a thing that had thought itself a god, now caged by human stubbornness. Humanity doesn't leave loose ends, he said, his voice cold enough to cut steel. We don't burn slow. We burn everything to the ground before it can burn us. Now move. We need to write Chapter 6 of 12 for Episode 12. The previous context ends with our Orca setting a 32-minute countdown and saying, now move. So Chapter 6 continues from there. We need to follow the macro to micro scale, grand clash between arrogant alien empires and resourceful, calm humans. No CLAKs, crisp military dialogue, pacing and tension high. Output only story text, 801,000 words. The chapter should advance the plot. The crawler attacking, the team is trying to escape with the emitter lattice, the god sea-aged. Possibly introduce the awakening of the mothership, the episode title. The Derelict Mothership Zoek, a sleeping god hung for humanity's flesh, so the mothership is awakening. Chapter 6 might show that happening. Also the KR all and maybe other alien empires, focus on human resourcefulness and calm under pressure. Let me write a chapter that shows our Orca and team executing their plan while the mothership begins to stir and the crawler closing in. Use tight dialogue and action. The chamber's emergency lights flickered, casting long shadows across the cracked sphere. Rourke didn't wait for Hale's confirmation. He was already moving, Gauss pistol drawn toward the main corridor. Voss, status on those charges. Working on it, Captain. Voss's voice came through the comms, punctuated by the sharp clink of breaching rounds being seated into door frames. First 3 junctions are wired, 4 more to go. Give me 6 minutes. You have 4. Rourke rounded the corridor stretching ahead, lit by the pale glow of emergency strips. The crawl would be coming from the shuttle bay approach, but they'd also have scouts in the maintenance shafts. He'd seen their tactics before, flank and swarm. He pressed his back against the bulkhead, listening. The ship's hum had changed. It was deeper now, a subsonic thrum that vibrated through the deck plates. The mothership was waking up. Captain, Hale's voice was tight. I'm seeing power fluctuations across the entire grid. This isn't just the sphere, the ship itself is coming online. Life support, gravity stabilizers, weapon systems. Someone's reactivating the core. The crawl, negative. Their ships are still external. This is internal. The ship's AI, or whatever's left of it, is booting up. Rourke's jaw tightened. A derelict mothership, silent for millennia, suddenly humming with power, and they were standing on its heart. Can you isolate the reroute sequence from its systems? Already done. The emitter lattice is shielded, but the ship S starting to run diagnostics. If it detects our tampering, it might trigger a hard lockdown. We'll be sealed in. Then we move faster. Rourke stepped into the corridor, weapon up. Voss skipped the last 2 junctions. Get back to Hale and start the countdown. I'll cover the approach. Copy that. Voss's footsteps echoed, then faded. Rourke moved forward, each step deliberate, eyes scanning the cross corridors. The crawl were methodical hunters. They'd send a probing force first, then commit. He had maybe 2 minutes before the first wave. The ship groaned, a low, resonant sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The emergency lights flickered, then steadied into a cold blue. The mothership was asserting control. Hale, talk to me. Countdown initiated. 31 minutes 47 seconds. Reroute is holding. But Captain, the ship's internal sensors just went active. It knows we're here. Can it identify us? It's scanning. I'm feeding it a generic human genetic signature. Should look like standard salvage crew. But if it cross-references with crawl battle data, it'll know we're hostile. Rourke stopped at an intersection. To the left, the shuttle bay. To the right, the main hangar where Jax's fighters would land. Straight ahead, the corridor that led to the sphere chamber, and beyond it, the core. He chose left. The first crawl appeared at the far end of the corridor, a scout, its elongated frame silhouetted against the emergency glow. It saw him, raised its rifle. Rourke fired first. Gauss round punched through its chest plate, sending it crumpling to the deck. But it wasn't alone. 2 more dropped from a ceiling vent behind him. Rourke dove, rolling behind a collapsed support beam. Their plasma bolts seared the air where he'd been standing, melting the deck plates into slag. He returned fire, 1 round catching the lead crawl in the throat, the second ducked back into the vent. Contact in Section 7, he said into the comms. 2 down, 1 retreating. They're using the maintenance shafts. Voss, you clear. Just got to Hale. Charges are set. Countdown at 29 minutes. Good. Start the shuttle pre-flight sequence. I'll be there in 90 seconds. Rourke pushed up, sprinting down the corridor. The ship's hum grew louder, almost a growl now. The walls vibrated. Ahead, the shuttle bay doors sealed. He slapped the manual override. Nothing. Hale, I need bay door release. Working on it. The ship's locking everything down. It's treating us like an infection. Then cut the power to the bay. Blow the emergency seals. That'll vent atmosphere. We'll be in suits. Do it. A pause, then Hale's voice grim. Emergency seal breach in 10 seconds. Get to the shuttle. Rourke slammed his helmet on, sealing the suit. The bay doors exploded outward, a hurricane of decompression ripping through the corridor. He grabbed a handrail, held on as the air screamed past, then silence. The bay was open to vacuum. He pulled himself through the jagged opening. The shuttle sat in its cradle, lights flickering. Voss was already at the hatch, motioning him in. Countdown at 26 minutes. Jax's fighters are 12 minutes out. Rourke climbed aboard, sealing the hatch behind him. Get us airborne. I don't want to be on this ship when it finishes waking up. The shuttle's engines whined to life. Through the viewport, Rourke saw the mothership's hull, massive, ancient, now pulsing with veins of blue light. The sleeping god was stirring, and it was hungry. The shuttle's hull screamed as it cleared the mothership's gravity well, the 12-kilometer hull looming behind it like a corpse suddenly filling its lungs with air. Blue bioluminescent veins pulsed across its obsidian plating, each throb sinking to the low, subsonic hum that vibrated through Rourke's suit teeth, even through the shuttle's reinforced hull. Fuel cell pressure dropping fast. Voss barked, his knuckles white on the control yoke. Decompression blast ruptured the port cell. Got 17 minutes of burn time max if we don't hit any more debris. Rourke's HUD flashed red, M interference spiking so hard the nav array glitched out for 3 full seconds before rebooting, the fleet's hidden nebula coordinates flickering into view 1.2 AU out. The comms crackled, Hale's voice cutting through the static, tight with the strain of moving through a ship that was actively trying to kill him. Rourke, copy. Automated turrets just sealed the core access tunnel behind me. I can't reach the secondary remote detonator, jamming's too strong. Primary's wired to manual, rigged to blow when the core hits 80% capacity. That's in 21 minutes. Hold position, Rourke said, his voice flat, no room for panic. Jax's fighter wing is 9 minutes out. They'll draw turret fire, you move on my mark. Voss cursed as the shuttle shuddered, a proximity alarm blaring. On the viewport, a fist-sized kinetic slug the size of a shipping container whizzed past 50 meters off their port bow, the air displacement rattling the shuttle's frame. The picket ship they'd left on silent watch 2 AU out vanished from the long-range sensors in a flash of white-hot debris. Alert the fleet, Rourke ordered, tapping the fleet broadcast frequency on his wrist comm. The god's awake, it's firing kinetic rounds. Tell all units to scatter to the designated nebula hide sites. He paused, listening to the static scream back at him. Comms are still jammed, can't get a signal through its interference bubble. Hale's voice came back, sharper now, the sound of tearing metal humming under his words. Turret just took out the access ladder above the core chamber. I'm sealed in. Core's at 72% now, climbing 1% every 45 seconds. If it hits 90% before the detonator triggers, the core goes critical on its own. Shockwave will take out every human ship within 5 AU, including the colony transports in the nebula. The shuttle's ventral proximity alarm wailed. Rourke leaned forward, peering past the viewport's scorch marks. Hundreds of matte black insected drones poured out of the mothership's ventral hangar, red sensor clusters glowing as they arrowed straight for the fleet's last known transponder location. They're not chasing us, Voss said, his voice tight. They're heading for the colony. Hale laughed, short and sharp over the comms. Told you it's hungry. It's sending the swarm ahead to feed before it even leaves the system. A burst of static, then the sound of a plasma cutter sparking. Core's at 78%. I'm rigging the detonator to my suit's life sign. If I go down, it blows. No way I'm letting that thing get within firing range of the colony. Rourke's jaw tightened. Jax's fighters popped up on the short-range sensor, 90 seconds out, their afterburners painting the void orange as they pushed to intercept the drone swarm. He tapped his comm, keying into the fighter wing's frequency. Jax, intercept the drone swarm. Secondary mission, provide covering fire for Hale in the mothership's core chamber. He's got 19 minutes before the detonator triggers, 8 minutes before the core hits critical on its own. Copy that, Commander. Jax's voice came back calm, already locking onto the laid drone. We'll clear a path for your man. The first fighter salvo lit up the void, drones exploding in streaks of blue plasma. Rourke watched the mothership's hull pulse brighter, the blue veins spreading across its spine as dormant weapon ports unsealed, oozing a thick black fluid that hardened into barrel linings in the vacuum. His HUD's countdown timer ticked down, 21 minutes until core 80%, 12 minutes until Hale's detonator blew, 90 seconds until Jax's fighters were in range of the mothership's new batteries. The hum of the mothership wasn't a growl anymore, it was a roar. We need to write Chapter 8 of 12 for Episode 12. The provided context ends with RRKS countdown, 21 min to core 80%, 12 min to detonator, 90 sec until fighters in range of mothership's batteries. The chapter should continue from there. Must be 800-100 words, follow rules, macro to micro scale, alien empire versus humans, no clicky cutes, crisp military dialogue, high stakes, output only story text. The fighter wing's first pass shredded the outer shell of the drone swarm. Jax's lead element punched through the debris cloud, cannon rounds tracking across the mothership's newly exposed gun ports. Black fluid hardened into crystalline barrels that swiveled with unnatural speed, tracking the human fighters before they could break. Break right, Jax's voice cut through the comms as a lance of violet energy punched through the void where his wingman had been a half-second earlier. The fighter tumbled, systems dead, pilot already ejecting in a ballistic capsule that would take 15 minutes to reach the nearest rescue ship. 15 minutes they didn't have. Rourke watched the tactical plot update. The mothership's energy signature spiked again, not a roar, a pulse, rhythmic like a heartbeat. The blue veins along its hull synchronized, flashing in sequence from bow to stern. Each pulse pushed more drones from its launch bays, these ones different, larger, armored with the same black crystalline material that now coated its weapon ports. Hail status, Rourke snapped. Core's at 79%. I've got secondary coolant lines bleeding into the chamber, slowing the climb but not stopping it. A clang of metal on metal. These conduits are shielded. Can't cut through fast enough to plant secondary charges. I'm stuck with the one. Rourke's mind ran the numbers. One detonator, one chance. If the mothership's new batteries targeted Hale's position before he could trigger it, the entire operation failed. The colony would have nothing between them and a sleeping god that had just woken up hungry. Jax, I need you to suppress those gun ports. Give Hale cover to finish his work. Negative, Commander. We're already committed to the drone intercept. If we break off, the swarm reaches the colony before we can re-engage. Jax's tone was flat, professional. I can detach 2 fighters for suppression, but they won't last long against those batteries. Do it. 2 fighters peeled off, diving toward the mothership's dorsal surface. Their cannons flared, targeting the nearest crystalline barrel. The first salvo shattered it, black shards spinning into the void. The second barrel tracked them, fired. One fighter vanished in a violet flash. The other pulled a hard burn, spiraling around the hull, laying down suppressive fire that forced the remaining barrels to track him instead of the hull breach where Hale worked. Rourke switched to Hale's channel. You've got maybe 2 minutes before that fighter runs out of ammunition or fuel. Then those guns turn on you. 2 minutes is all I need. The sound of a plasma cutter whining, then a sharp click. Detonators wired into the primary coolant manifold. When it goes, it'll flash freeze the core. Should buy you enough time to get the colony ships clear. Should. Hale laughed, that same short, sharp sound. Best I can do with a dead man's switch and a ticking clock. Core's at 79.5%. I've got 7 minutes before it hits critical on its own. Detonator set for 6. If I'm wrong about the coolant line, you'll have 1 minute to evacuate before this entire ship turns into a miniature sun. Rourke's jaw tightened. The tactical plot showed the colony evacuation was 40% complete. Too slow. The mothership's pulse was accelerating, each beat stronger than the last. The void around it shimmered, space itself beginning to distort as the ancient engines woke from their eons-long slumber. Colony Control Rourke, cut the evac timeline in half. Non-essential personnel stay behind. I want every available shuttle on the priority list, medical, children, command staff. Everyone else finds a hole in praise. Commander, that's do it. The channel went silent. Rourke watched the mothership's hull pulse one final time, then stopped. The blue veins went dark. The heartbeat ceased. For a long, terrible moment there was nothing. Then the ship began to move, not with thrusters, not with engines. It shifted, rotating on an axis that defied physics, its bow now pointing directly at the colony. The black crystalline barrels retracted, sliding back into the hull as new ports opened along its entire length. Thousands of them, each one glowing with the same violet light that had killed Jax's wingman. Hale's voice came over the comms, quiet and calm. It knows we're here, it knows what we are, and it's hungry. The countdown hit 5 minutes. The mothership's rotation stopped. It hung there, a black crescent against the stars, its violet ports fixed on the colony like a predator's eyes. Void around it rippled, space-time bending in concentric waves that distorted the light from distant suns. Rourke's fingers hovered over the tactical console, his mind racing through every contingency, every failure point in the plan. Core status, he said. 79.8%, Chen replied. The coolant line's holding, but the thermal gradient is shifting. We're losing efficiency faster than projected. How much faster? 30 seconds per minute, maybe 40. Rourke did the math. The detonator was set for 6 minutes. At this rate, the core would hit critical at 4.5. The margin was evaporating. He keyed the comms to Hale's fighter. Hale, I need a distraction. Buy me 3 minutes. A pause, then Hale's voice flat and certain. I'll give you 5. Don't be a hero. 3 minutes, then you're on the deck. Copy that. Hale's fighters streaked toward the mothership, its engines burning white-hot. The violet ports tracked it, but they didn't fire. The ship was waiting, watching. Hale's voice came over the channel, calm as a prayer. You ever wonder why they call it a mother? It's not about birth, it's about consumption. The old myths, the ones before the jump drives, they talked about things that slept in the dark between stars. Things that fed on life. This ship is one of them. It's not a machine. It's a stomach, the ports flared. A volley of violet beams lanced out, but Hale was already jinking, the shot slicing through empty space. He returned fire, his cannon stitching a line of plasma across the mothership's hull. The impacts were absorbed, the black surface rippling like water, then smoothing over. Negative effect, Chen said. Weapon systems are useless. It's regenerating faster than we can damage it. Rourke's eyes snapped to the coolant line schematic. The conduit ran through a service corridor, 3 decks down, past the primary reactor shielding. If he could reach it, manually adjust the flow valve, he could buy another 2 minutes, maybe 3. But the corridor was exposed to the mothership's pulse field. One spike and he'd be flash-fried. Chen, I'm going in, you have the bridge. If I'm not back in 2 minutes, detonate. Commander, that's suicide. It's a calculated risk, keep the clock running. He grabbed a toolkit from the wall and moved. The corridor was dark, emergency lights flickering as the ship's systems fought to compensate for the thermal blade. The air was hot, thick with ozone and the smell of burning insulation. He reached the service hatch, wrenched it open, and dropped into the crawl space. The coolant line was a thick, pulsing artery of superheated plasma, its surface glowing a dull red. The flow valve was a manual override, a rusted wheel that hadn't been turned in decades. Rourke grabbed it and pulled. It didn't move. He braced his feet against the bulkhead and heaved. The wheel groaned, then turned, a quarter rotation, then half. The plasma flow slowed, the glow dimming. Core at 78.9%, Chen's voice came through the earpiece. It's working, you bought us time. Rourke wiped sweat from his eyes. How much? 90 seconds, maybe more. Good. Start the detonation sequence. I'm coming up. He crawled back, his muscles screaming, the heat pressing in like a physical weight. As he emerged into the corridor, the ship shuddered. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the deck plates, and the violet light from the mothership intensified, flooding the viewport with a sickly glow. Hale's voice crackled. It's waking up all the way. I'm seeing energy readings off the scale. The ports are charging again, but they're not aiming at me. They're aiming at the colony. Rourke ran. He reached the bridge, slammed the hatch shut, and saw the tactical plot. The mothership's ports were aligned, a single salvo ready to fire. The colony was dead center. The evac was at 70%, not enough. Detonator armed, Chen said. 90 seconds to detonation. Make it 60, Rourke said. And get us out of here. He grabbed the controls, the ship's engines screaming as he pushed them to maximum. The colony shrank in the viewport, the mothership growing larger, its violet light filling the sky. The countdown hit 30 seconds. 20, 10, the mothership fired. Chapter 10, Episode 12. The derelict mothership hums awake. A sleeping god hungers for humanity's flesh. ASF, the violet beam tore across the void, a lance of annihilation aimed squarely at the colony. Rourke's knuckles whitened on the controls, every instinct screaming that they were too late. But the human fleet had not come this far to die quietly. Counter-battery fire, Hale's voice snapped across comms. All ships saturate the beam path. A dozen destroyers pivoted, their railguns spitting tungsten slugs into the beam's trajectory. The slugs vaporized instantly, but the disruption scattered the energy just enough. The colony shields flared, buckled, and held barely. The violet light dimmed, refracted into 1,000 shards across the atmosphere. Chen's voice was steady, almost unnervingly calm. Detonation sequence locked, 40 seconds. Rourke's eyes flicked to the tactical plot. The mothership's ports were glowing again, charging for a second salvo. Its hum was no longer mechanical. It was alive, resonant, like the heartbeat of something ancient and hungry. The alien empire had built this ship as a god machine, and now it was fully awake. Fleet Command, this is Rourke, he said. We're inside the kill radius. If the core goes, we all go, but if it doesn't, the colony dies. Admiral Kessler's reply was clipped cold. Understood, execute. The human fleet shifted formation, a wall of steel and fire between the mothership and the colony. Alien cruisers swarmed, sleek and arrogant, their weapons slicing through the void with surgical precision. But the humans fought differently, no wasted motion, no panic. Every shot was calculated, every maneuver designed to bleed seconds from the clock. 20 seconds, Chen reported, core instability rising. If it fails, we'll know. Rourke's ship shuddered as a plasma lance grazed the hull. Warning klaxons blared, but he ignored them. His eyes were locked on the mothership, its vast silhouette blotting out the stars. The hum grew louder, vibrating through his bones. It wasn't just sound, it was intent. The ship wanted flesh. It wanted humanity broken and consumed. Hale's voice cut in, sharp. They're vectoring drones, thousands of them. They're not targeting us. They're heading for the evac transports. Rourke's stomach twisted. The colony evac was at 80%, thousands of civilians still trapped. He slammed the comms open. All gunships, intercept those drones. Prioritize transport defense, nothing gets through. The tactical plot bloomed with red markers as the drones swarmed. Human gunships dove into the storm, autocannons blazing, shredding alien constructs in brutal close-quarters combat. The void became a slaughterhouse, fragments of drones scattering like metallic ash. 10 seconds, Chen said. His voice was still calm, but Rourke could hear the strain beneath it. Core pressure at critical. The mothership's ports flared again, brighter than before. The second salvo was seconds away. Rourke's throat tightened. If the detonation failed, the colony would be vaporized. If it succeeded, his ship would be torn apart in the blast. 5 seconds, Chen whispered. Hold. The hum reached a crescendo, a sound that was not sound, a vibration that clawed at the mind. Rourke felt it pressing against his thoughts, whispering promises of surrender, of silence, of flesh offered willingly. He clenched his jaw, forcing the intrusion out. Humanity had faced worse. Humanity endured. 3, 2, 1. The core detonated. Light consumed the viewport, a white-hot eruption that tore through the mothership's heart. The hum faltered, then screamed, a sound of rage, of hunger denied. The alien ports flickered, their glow collapsing into darkness. The mothership convulsed, its vast frame shattering as shockwaves rippled outward. Rourke's ship was hurled sideways, alarms shrieking, hull plating buckling. He fought the controls, dragging the vessel back into line. The tactical plot was chaos, alien cruisers breaking formation, drones disintegrating mid-flight, human ships battered but alive. Chen's voice came through, ragged but triumphant. Core destroyed, the god machine is bleeding. Hale laughed, a harsh bark. Bleeding, it's dying. But Rourke wasn't so sure. The mothership's silhouette still loomed, fractured but not gone. Its hum was weaker, but it persisted, a low growl reverberating through the void. The ship was wounded, yes, but not dead, and wounded predators were the most dangerous. Admiral Kessler's voice cut across comms. All units regroup, press the advantage, we finish this now. The human fleet surged forward, weapons blazing, tearing into the alien cruisers with ruthless precision. The arrogant empire had underestimated them, believing humanity fragile, disorganized. But the humans fought with a terrifying calm, every maneuver a blade, every shot a scalpel. They did not rage, they did not panic, they executed. Rourke steadied his ship, eyes locked on the mothership. Its ports were dark, its drones scattered, but its core presence remained. He could feel it, like a predator's gaze in the dark. The sleeping god was awake, and though wounded, it still hungered. He keyed the comms, his voice low, resolute. We've cut its heart, but it's not dead, not yet, and if it survives, it will come for us again. Chen replied, his tone flat. Then we kill it, entirely, no half measures. Rourke nodded, the decision already made. Humanity had bought time, but time was not victory. The mothership had to die utterly, completely, beyond resurrection. Because if it lived, even in fragments, it would remember, and it would hunger. The tactical plot shifted, human ships closing in, alien resistance faltering. The void was filled with fire, steel, and silence between screams. The battle was not over, but the tide had turned. Humanity had wounded a god. Now they had to finish it. Rourke's hands tightened on the controls. His voice was calm, steady, the voice of a soldier who knew the cost. All units target the remains, we end this now. The fleet answered with fire. The first salvo of human torpedoes slammed into the Vera mothership's scarred outer hull at 0817 Zulu, detonating in cascading bursts that peeled back kilometers of twisted alloy plating. The fleet's destroyer screen laid down a continuous wall of mass driver rounds, picking off the last flickering point defense turrets that sputtered to life along the mothership's upper spine. Chen's strike wing weaved through the haze of vaporized metal and stray plasma bursts. Fighters angled low to avoid the last of the Vera's automated countermeasures. Holloway, confirm core signature status. Rourke's voice was level, no inflection over the bridge comms. His tactical officer didn't look up from her console. Spiking, not dropping. It's rerouting all auxiliary power to the central reactor. If we don't breach the core in 180 seconds, it'll overload. Blast radius will take out 40% of the fleet. Chen, you have your window, suppress upper turrets on my mark. Go. Copy, command. Chen's reply crackled over the wing frequency, sharp and uncluttered. Bomber flight, hold fire until you're inside the vent throat. Point defense is half dead, but it'll light up the second you get a weapons lock. Stay tight. The bombers dove, sleek and heavy, aimed straight for the narrow vent shaft the recon drones had mapped hours prior. A stray turret burst took out the lead bomber 200 meters out. The pilot's mayday cutting off mid-transmission as the craft spun into the debris field. The remaining 4 bombers held their approach, releasing bunker buster torpedoes that tracked down the shaft's length before detonating deep in the core cavity. The Vera triggered their last failsafe a half-second early. A torrent of superheated plasma surged toward the human fleet, aimed to scuttle every ship within 20 kilometers. Corvette screen, intercept that vent, shunt it into their port hull now. Rourke didn't hesitate, the order out before the plasma plume had fully cleared the mothership's hull. The Corvette wing adjusted their mass driver arrays in unison, slamming rounds into the leading edge of the plasma vent and redirecting it straight into the mothership's damaged side. The hull groaned, split open along the core cavity, and the Vera's central reactor erupted in a silent flash of blue-white light that outshone the system's star for 3 full seconds. The fleet pulled back to minimum safe distance, sensors sweeping the debris field for any residual Vera signatures. Chen's fighter pulled alongside Rourke's frigate, its port wing scorched black from a near-miss turret burst. "Core is cold," he reported, his tone flat. "No residual power, no biosigns." Vera cruisers are breaking formation, scattering to the outer system. No pursuit vectors requested. Rourke watched the debris field spin, the last of the mothership's wreckage fading into the dark. He didn't allow himself to relax. The battle was over, but the war wasn't, not yet. Holloway's console chimed, sharp and insistent. "Commander, I'm picking up a small escape pod jettisoned from the mothership's inner core 12 seconds before the reactor detonated. It's not broadcasting a distress signal. It's an encrypted data burst repeating on all Vera frequencies." Rourke's jaw tightened. "Decrypt it." Holloway's fingers flew across her console, and a string of coordinates scrolled across the main plot, paired with a single Vera glyph. A star system 3 weeks travel out, marked with a red target icon. "It's not a surrender, it's a target, one of their core colony worlds. They're telling us to come get them." The bridge went quiet for half a second, the hum of the consoles the only sound. Rourke keyed the fleet-wide comms, his voice steady, no trace of the fatigue sitting heavy behind his eyes. "All units, secure the debris field. Recovery teams, pick up any Veratech and prisoners. We have a new objective." Chapter 12. The Derelict Mothership hums awake. A sleeping god hungers for humanity's flesh. The fleet burned hard toward the coordinates, drives flaring against the black. 3 weeks of silence, 3 weeks of drills, 3 weeks of waiting for the Vera to reveal their hand. Rourke had expected ambushes, skirmishes, harassment raids. Instead, nothing. The enemy had gone quiet, as if the mothership's destruction had stunned them into retreat. But silence was never mercy, it was preparation. The colony world loomed on the main plot, a pale sphere wrapped in a lattice of orbital structures. The Vera had not abandoned it, they had fortified it. Sensor sweeps painted a picture of layered defenses, cruiser patrols, planetary shields, and something deeper, an anomalous energy signature buried beneath the crust. Holloway's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed unease. "Commander, the readings match the mothership's core harmonics. It's not a colony." "It's a cradle." Chen's fighter wing held formation, engines whispering across comms. "If that's a cradle, then what's inside it?" His tone was clipped, military precise, but the question hung heavy. No one answered. Rourke's jaw locked. He had seen the mothership's wreckage, felt the vibration of its death scream through the hull. If this was a cradle, then something older, larger, and infinitely hungrier was waiting to be born. The fleet's approach triggered the first wave. Vera cruisers broke orbit, their formations tight, arrogant in their symmetry. Human frigates spread wide, overlapping fields of fire, every maneuver drilled into muscle memory. The clash was immediate, no posturing, no warnings. Railguns spat tungsten, plasma lances carved arcs across the void. The Vera fought with precision, but the humans fought with calculation, every move designed to bleed the enemy dry. "Target their command relays," Rourke ordered. "Cut the head, the body stumbles." His voice carried across the fleet, calm, unshaken. The frigates shifted, volleys converging on the Vera's central nodes. One by one, alien cruisers faltered, their formations collapsing into chaos. Chen's wing darted through the gaps, missiles streaking into exposed hulls. Explosions rippled across the battle space, silent blossoms of fire in the void. But the cradle remained untouched. Beneath the planet's crust, the anomalous signature grew stronger, pulsing in rhythm with the battle. Holloway's console screamed warnings. "Commander, the energy spike is accelerating. It's feeding on the conflict. Every ship destroyed amplifies the signal." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Then we starve it." The order was brutal, efficient. Human ships shifted fire away from the cruisers, targeting orbital structures instead. Power relays, shield generators, planetary defense grids, all dismantled with surgical precision. The Vera fought desperately to protect their cradle, but their arrogance had blinded them. They had built their defenses outward, assuming the humans would batter themselves against the perimeter. Instead, the humans cut inward, severing the arteries that fed the planet's defenses. Chen's voice cut through the comms, sharp and cold. "Outer grid collapsing. We've got a window." His fighter banked hard, diving toward the planet's surface. Rourke's frigate followed, shields flaring against the last of the orbital fire. The cradle's energy signature roared, a low hum that vibrated through every hull. It was awake, the descent was chaos. Vera ground batteries spat fire into the sky, but human dropships punched through, their hulls scarred, their crews silent. Landing zone was a wasteland of black stone, fissures glowing with molten light. At the center stood the cradle, a structure half organic, half machine, its surface pulsing like muscle beneath armor. It was not built, it was grown. Rourke led the strike team forward, rifles raised, visors locked. The cradle's hum deepened, resonating in bone and blood. Holloway's voice crackled in his ear. Commander, it's not just a power source. It's a gestation chamber. The mothership was a weapon. This is a god. The surface split open, revealing a core of writhing tendrils, each one tipped with jagged bone. The chamber pulsed, expelling waves of heat and sound. The strike team opened fire, rounds hammering into the exposed flesh. The cradle screamed, a sound that bypassed ears and drilled straight into the mind. Men staggered, clutching helmets, but Rourke stood firm. Hold the line, burn it down. The battle was not fought in silence. The cradle spoke, not in words but in images, visions forced into human minds. Cities burning, oceans boiling, humanity consumed. It showed futures where resistance failed, where flesh was harvested, where the Vera knelt not as masters but as worshippers. The god they had awakened was no ally, it was hunger incarnate. Chen's voice cut through the static, ragged but defiant. Ignore it. Focus fire, his missiles slammed into the core, detonations tearing through the tendrils. The cradle convulsed, its hum faltering. Rourke advanced, rifle steady, every shot precise. His team followed, their fire disciplined, relentless. The cradle's visions shattered against their resolve. Humanity did not kneel. The final strike came from orbit. Holloway's frigate, its guns overheated, its shields failing, aligned for a single shot. Commander, we can collapse the chamber, but it will take everything. Rourke's reply was immediate, unflinching. Do it. The frigate's railgun fired, a tungsten spear driven by the last of its power. Round pierced the cradle's core, detonating deep within. The structure convulsed, its hum rising to scream, then collapsing into silence. The fissures sealed, the molten light dimmed. The god was unborn. Silence fell across the battlefield. The Vera forces broke, their cruisers scattering, their arrogance shattered. Humanity stood, scarred but unbroken. Rourke lowered his rifle, eyes fixed on the smoking ruin of the cradle. They wanted us to come here, he said quietly. They wanted us to awaken it. Instead, we killed their god. Chen's fighter wings circled overhead, engines whispering. What now, Commander? Rourke's gaze hardened. Now we show them what happens when you mistake humanity for prey. The fleet regrouped, battered but alive. The war was not over. The Vera still held worlds, still commanded fleets, but their god was dead, and humanity had proven that no empire, no weapon, no hunger could break them. The derelict mothership had hummed awake, but its song had ended in silence, and in that silence humanity prepared to strike back.